Hello, and welcome to the Preferred Contractors podcast, where we give you actionable steps to grow your contracting business. I'm your host, Jordan Harrison. Today, we're going to get into, as we're diving into season two of the Preferred Contractors podcast, we want to get into how to supplement and estimating your work. And so making sure you're getting paid and getting great margins, and of course, getting paid on time, which we definitely want as contractors. So I brought in a wonderful guest, super awesome dude, Max, and that's Rosenbloom, right? I said it right? Yeah. So Max Rosenbloom of Supplement Experts is going to join us on the show and talk to us about that process and how you can help supplement your work and, of course, increase those margins and get paid on time. Max, welcome, man.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Well, dude, I have to say this, as far as character goes and the people you're connected with, I reached out to you and invited you on this show because I saw the kind of people you're connected with and what you wanted to do to help others. And it was all serving first, education first. That's how you want to help people. And so I thought you were a perfect fit to come on this show. So I wanted to make point of that and make note of that. To anybody listening that you're a solid dude, and I want you to be able to share your story and share what you know so we can help others. So I want to make that point before we got started.
I really appreciate that. As a man before all, strive to be a lot of what you just said. So hearing all that is very validating. So thank you for that.
Yeah, man, absolutely, dude. Well, let's get started, dude. So give us a little background, okay, kind of on your journey in the contracting space, what you've done in the past, and what kind of led you to starting or getting going with Supplement Experts.
Yeah, it's been it's been a journey. Like it's been fun. It's been good. It's up and down. I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I wanted to, I think I told my parents in sixth grade, that I wanted to go to the University of Colorado. And I had the opportunity to do just that. And I went to University of Colorado, Go Buffs. And I loved it. And I decided to stay out here. My intention was to go to medical school. I think I was really on the cusp of getting in, but I was burnt out and I wanted to go into the workforce. And I had an opportunity to work for a financial tech startup in Boulder out of college, and I did that, and it was good until we got laid off. The whole sales team got laid off, and I was lost. You talk to a lot of people that work in this industry that, they will often tell you, hey, I was lost, whether it was, I didn't know what to do with my career, or I was having some form of, maybe unfortunately a substance abuse problem, or, some form of a lot of this industry seems to find a lot of lost souls and really put them back together. And it really did that for me. So I met this gentleman named Jared Rash, who basically told me to come work for him about a couple days, 2 days after the biggest hail event in Colorado history. And he was essentially rebuilding the company. The company name was Metro Construction. And I went on. I found my first week to be, maybe for better or worse, easy. I found the sale to be easy in my head. Once I wrapped my head around it, I was like, wow, I'm going out and I'm selling these jobs. It's pretty much selling a product that's 95% off. It needs to get done. And for me, coming from a very technical sale to in my opinion, what was a relatively straightforward thing, it was great, right? So I went out, I sold a lot of jobs, and then unfortunately, and this is totally not a knock against Metro Construction anyway, we just weren't really well equipped to handle that. So I had to get involved in certain ways where I was within the first year I was doing the supplementing, obviously, but I found certain things of how I could apply myself to be helpful in production when I could. build process and help with collections. And, I'm not saying I did all of these things. There was definitely people there putting in as well, and the owner, of course, too. But I felt like, from door knocking to production to collections to supplementing, of course, I really got to experience the different facets of the business. And I spent a lot of time directly with the owner, who spent a lot of time leaning into me and coaching me grow as, a person and as, an employee, which, I think, how can I be grateful for that? So I eventually, what really happened for me was we got pretty overloaded on files. I mean, we had this one guy who was selling, like, I think he sold like almost 200 jobs. Like, he was just a machine. And then the other team probably did, 200 plus jobs. So, a company during a storm, 400 to 500 jobs. Well, that kind of, it really did fall on me. And, we had someone else there, but he didn't work out. And, we were going to look into getting someone else at the time. And what I saw was that was going to cut into my commissions. So I spent time over a weekend dedicating myself to work, and not just writing estimates and making calls and stuff. My focus was, how can I build process to make me more efficient, right? More, better use of my time, writing out, this is where my time is wasted and this is where my time is best spent. And then building good process around it. What could I automate? What could I take out of my hands that's a waste of my time but still needs to be done? Like, things like that. And I wound up building these processes that worked, and I could tweak and stuff like that. And long story short, it really started to outpace the company, and the company was doing really well. Like, I'm not saying they weren't, but the processes were running, right? So I found myself finishing my responsibilities within the first couple hours or by midday. And then, I'm like, okay, how can I help production? Let me call these sales guys and, get with them. And, I'm trying to do right by everyone, but at the same time, you got to take care of yourself. And my thought was like, what can I do to elevate myself? Like, how can I bring in more jobs? How can we get things, whatever. So, it, lack of better words, it became frustrating at times for me, where I felt like I was doing maybe too much. And, people were leaving the company for one reason or another, and they were going somewhere else, and their claims weren't being processed fast enough, or the margins weren't big enough. There's one reason or another, and they were calling me and saying, "Hey Max, like, I only want you to supplement my jobs," and long and short, the noise became a little too loud. The opportunity was too good, and I in the most respectful way possible, bowed out from my position at this construction company, and I started Supplement Experts. And I tried to be as transparent as possible of like, hey, like, this is what I'm doing, to my boss at the time. And for a while I was working both. He was aware, and that was a lot. I mean, it was a lot. It was trying, and I got through it. And unfortunately for me, I started this like in September or August. So, you're going into the winter month, and you're cleaning up these jobs, and you feel like, the money's coming in. You're like, this is great. And then the winter comes, and you're getting by, right? And that was me. And I put what money I had into doing I did the Win the Storm trade show, and I went there, and I was hungry. I was anyone that was walking by my booth, I was stopping. Like I was truly hungry, and I got good business out of that. And for the first couple of years of Supplement Experts, we became word of mouth. I wasn't pouring money into marketing. I was finding the right people to work with. I definitely turned down a good amount of people because it wasn't a good fit. And, kind of what you were saying is, hey, you have this good circle of people that speak well about you. Well, they're, I we clicked for a reason, right? So, eternally grateful for those people who took a chance on me, eternally grateful for the people that, taught me in the industry, and eternally grateful for the people that encouraged me to start this on my own, whether it's, friends, family, old coworkers, like just an extreme amount of gratitude for all of it. And, fast forward now 3 years, we have a robust team of 10 plus people that's, growing, and we're constantly like, personally, I'm obsessing over our processes and systems and improving our experience, and being more transparent with our clients, things like that. It's important to me personally, and I think that has an effect on our business as a whole. So our return times are getting better, our increases are better, the client experience is improving as a whole. Yeah, I mean, I don't mean to sound overzealous, but I'm proud of Supplement Experts and where it's at. So I know that was a really long rant of like how I started and how I got here, but we're here now, we're growing, and we're really liking what we're seeing so far from this year as far as it goes for results, and we're hoping to continue to do that and to perfect that.
Yeah, well, no, and I think it's great. There's nothing wrong with being boastful about where you are, and it's good, important for people to hear where there was a struggle, and then where you figured out, like, hey, this is a lesson I learned, and how it grew into that opportunity. Because I've mentioned this in the podcast before. I was a teacher for 15 years, and little did I know, I slowly moved into the marketing content creation space through what I was doing. And at the time when COVID hit, um, I was spending a lot of time with my kids, and more than I ever did as a band director. And in that process, realized I was missing way too much, and realized I had to find something else that was going to still enjoy and spend that time with them. So, and then obviously, hopefully, make more money than a teacher. So, no, I think people need to hear that. They need to hear that story, and they need to understand, your experience, where you came from. So, and I love to hear the growth. We talked about it before you came on. So that's awesome, man.
Yeah. I think, if there's like one thing I could say about myself is that I've just always been looking for opportunity, right? Opportunity to work with a new client, opportunity to start a new business, opportunity to be better. And I mean, honestly, I annoyingly obsess over it. I drive, I have the best girlfriend in the world. I drive her absolutely nuts, absolutely nuts. And I drove her nuts about this, for sure, when I was starting it. At some point, she said something along the lines of, just do it. Like, I think she was just like, shut up and just do it. But, I would say, like, for someone who's coming into this industry or in any industry, like, and you're trying to figure out how you're going to make your way through life, and it's tough to figure, like, how am I going to be successful? What, I have these goals, like, find an opportunity, and pounce on it when it makes sense. So
I agree, man. Well, let's get into what we're here for, talk about estimating and stuff. So I kind of want to go into the beginning of the process of actually somebody providing an estimate, whether doesn't really matter, what industry. In the contracting space, you're assessing a job or a problem, fixing something, and you're having to provide some type of estimate that's going to provide you margins and, of course, quality work. So I think most people tend to lose the sale or kill their margins in the estimating process. I kind of feel that way, especially when they're starting out, because I see that question pop up a lot. How you guys estimating, people who are starting out, right? Not veterans, but how do you estimate this job? How do you create this margin? How do you create value here? And so I think it's important to kind of start there. So what are the biggest mistakes contractors are making when providing an estimate?
Documentation, without a doubt. And I know that there's going to be so many people that listen to this and they're just going to roll their eyes when I start talking about photos. But like, one thing I'm constantly telling to anyone that we're onboarding or anyone that is going over some things that they're not happy about, is like, we as supplement experts, we are as good as the information that you provide us. When you provide us a file with 7 photos, none of them are the build, and like, stuff like that. Like, I was talking with Ricky Harmon from Balance Claims, and we talk a lot. And another person I'm grateful for, he said to me, I explain to people all the time that we don't wave a magic wand and then create magic. Is it possible? Yeah, but I'm not a chance guy. What I like to say is I don't want to argue. I just want to present facts. Like fact, you have farmers, for example, they don't want to pay for drip edge on the eave. So get that photo from production. It's really easy for us, to submit that and argue about it. Take a little bit of time to label your photos, things like that. I think a lot of people just assume that they take photos, that the person should be, anyone on the other end should be able to look at it and just be able to, understand what they're looking at, taking an extra few seconds to label where it is, things like that. There's definitely some nuggets in there of different things that we know about code or know about how to document things, and we give that information to our clients, and even to people that aren't our clients, we're happy to share information like that. But I think that people just don't build good enough process around getting information, whether that's enabling the right person, like, are your project managers the best people to get production photos? Do they get out there enough on time for tear off? Should you put that on someone else? Hey, are you accepting and passing us jobs that, you're not doing a good enough job of auditing first? My admin team, will smile and nod their head when I say, like, we get way too many jobs that are not ready for supplementation, meaning, they're lacking photos, they're lacking an insurance estimate, they're lacking a note telling us what's going on, they're lacking measurements, whatever the case may be. I think people get excited and jump the gun and want to push things through. And listen, I understand that, like, especially if you're in a cash flow crunch, it's tough. It is. Cash flow is king in this industry, but all industry, right? But you have to have your ducks in order first. So you want supplement experts to build you a great estimate. We're going to do that, but the best estimate, the best clients are the most organized. And it's not even close. I keep really good data on what our closeout times are, what our increases are, all these things. I'll tell you, an average contractor in Colorado, say, I'm just throwing out a number here. Say they're 600 a square or 700 a square. Our best clients are $800,000, $900,000 a square on laminated shingle. And it's not because, like, well, we're doing such a better job supplementing. It's like, no, like, they make it easier for us, where, like, if we're on the phone with the carrier and they say, hey, I need a photo of a kick out diverter, show me what the step flashing looked like when you did the production. They literally have all those things in folders, and we can literally on the phone just be like, got it, boom, 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 boom. as opposed to, hey, where's production photos? Oh, those haven't been uploaded yet. Well, now,
So, no, I'm sorry. Keep
yes.
going. Yeah, keep going. No, I was going to ask a question. Keep going.
It's just an example, like, where they ask us for production photos, and then someone says, well, we haven't uploaded them yet. We have them, we haven't uploaded them yet. Now, sometimes it takes an extra 7 days, 14 days just to get that same adjuster on the phone. Like that could have been cut out. Or sometimes they'll say, hey, we got these photos, and then a week passes by, we were asking for them, and then now all of a sudden they're not there, and we got to close out the job, and now we have to go back to the adjuster, and you can kind of see how it snowballs, right? The ones, our clients that are most organized, again, data shows it, and common sense tells you, right, that they're gonna have the best results.
So what, I know Company Cam is one of the big tools out there that helps with this. Is there anything else that you guys work with tool wise that can help better with organization of the documentation?
Yeah, I mean, Company Cam is a fantastic tool for this, of course. You could even upload our photo checklist into Company Cam and create it, and you could create tags that are super easy where you just tag it production photo, like, and then you could just filter by it at the end and spit out a report. You know, I mean, if you have AccuLinks, they give you the ability to go back and edit and create photo packets in their tool. And if you really want to get granular with it, you can edit a photo on your phone and, on an iPhone and on Android. I know how to do it. It just takes more time, but that's why there's tools like this, like Company Cam exist, right? Because they simplify things. They make it cleaner. They make it easier. I always talk about contractors as being, a system people, not systems people. So when you're adding systems, you love companies like Company Cam because they simplify things. They don't make it more complicated than it needs to be. So, and that's a big reason why we, yes, we have dashboards that we create for our clients for them to overview the data, but that's why we also work directly into our clients' CRMs so that we can keep them up to date, and they're not having to check 5 different places. It's all in front of you.
Nice. So in the initial process of providing an estimate, I know this is, I saw this through your content. I think when we first talked on the phone, we talked about this as well, was getting the right information at the initial consultation when you're trying to provide an estimate. So what information is really kind of crucial and key that they need to provide that correct estimate?
So what we tell all of our clients is this, A to Z, we'd like to have the contract between you and the homeowner. We use that as our cover page of our estimate. I want the carrier to see that very first thing, because what they'll often tell you, as many people know, is, hey, we don't have authorization to speak to you, or hey, who are you? You show that you have that contract right in front of them. It's like, hey, I'm the signed contractor. Here's the contract. You might even have something in your contract, which often people do, that says, by signing this contract, I'm authorizing my contractor to, submit estimate to the carrier. So that's number one. Number two, where our estimate is besides our estimate is measurements. Like, you have a roof scope or an eagle view or a roofer or a hover report. There's I get a lot of people pushing back to me on that, saying, hey, the measurements are in the insurance estimate, right? Well, there's certain pieces of information that aren't right on the insurance estimate that are really important for supplementing. So a detailed measurement report is crucial, in my opinion. It's a non-starter with me. So that photos, obviously. Again, these supporting evidence, right, of what we're doing. If you have bids for certain items, like, I mean, the truth is windows and some paint and certain things like HVAC is just not properly priced, in my opinion, by Xactimate or Stability for that matter. And that's just the reality. So just getting bids for those to be able to compare the pricing to, because if you're pricing for a bid from your window installer is higher, obviously you got to submit that and put that in your estimate. And then the last thing is code information. And what we do at Supplement Experts is we pull a one-click code report for every single job that we can. There's very few areas that you can't pull a code report for because they just don't have that information yet. But one-click code, another tremendous service that makes your life easier. From how they display what the taxes are, obviously what the building codes are, who's the building code official to contact. We love sending that to the carrier. And the more and more that it becomes common within our industry, the less and less pushback we've gotten to these one-click code reports. I mean, I started using them 5+ years ago, and I'd send the reports in, and then the carrier would be like, what is this? Like, I'm not accepting it. Well, now the carriers are also using it, which is fantastic in my opinion. So it's not, this is a fact. Here's the confirmed code. Here's all this information. And we package our estimates together pretty much in that order. And so as far as it goes for information, that is, that's what we get and what we need. Do you want me to kind of talk about just some of the specifics of our estimate and kind of how it flows from there?
Well, I was thinking this, like, I know in anything where you're doing any type of sale or excuse me, I'm running through with you today. So any type of sale or anything like that, any estimating, there's got to be like a discovery phase of what's going on. So and really, because some people just don't know how to ask questions, right? Ask the right questions. So what is there like a framework you guys talk about, or in like a discovery phase of trying to figure out the initial estimate of what information to collect? You talked about the type of information, but there's questions they can ask in a certain way that's going to get the best information out of customers and make them feel okay giving it, right? Instead of like, I need to ask you these specific questions, but is there since you seem to be good at it, is there a way, if you understand what I'm asking, to really frame everything to where it's very conversational, it's very customer friendly, as they're getting the information they need for the estimate?
Yeah, I think I have a good answer for your question. So I think there's two pieces here. The information, like, so we get information like photos and things like that from our clients, but also just like that note from the information gatherer, if you will, project manager, whatever, of what they're seeing. Hey, there's 3 layers of felt, there's multiple layers of shingles, the decking is bad, like things like that. Just those verbally, like in a written note on top of the photos being communicated to us it's so helpful, right? Put yourself in an estimator's position. We're taking this stuff and you're not sitting next to us telling us what's going on, right? So when you're telling us, hey, like, here's something that's in the photos, but like, you need to know the decking's bad, there's space decking, things like that. And we know these things like are important going in. Like, so the first thing we do is we look at the note. So we know, hey, you're doing the roof, the gutters, the siding, things like that. And then that also has an effect on how we write the estimate, right? Where what we do is it changes 2 things. One, any differences between our estimate and the carrier estimate, we're going to bold those line items so they stick out, they pop out on the page. And 2, it could have an effect on what F9 or note we put in on the estimate, right? Well, this has to be this for this reason. And we'll literally put the code into the line item, with the state, and and we'll literally have a see photo below, see bid below, like things like that. We want our estimates to flow, not because you have to communicate that with the homeowner, right? They want to know the difference. You want to show them it, but just as important, arguably, is when we're on the phone with the adjuster, or if you have to be on the phone with the adjuster, we want that conversation to flow. We don't want it to be redundant. That's again, like, process, right? It's a waste of time if they're having to spend time looking for the differences, if they're having to spend time looking for why something had to be done. They have to call you and ask for that. We don't want them to do that, right? We want them to see an estimate from so-and-so roofing and then know, okay, I can process this quickly and move this file off my desk because I can go in, they have everything I need, and I can see the differences really quick. And it's helpful for us on the phones where our supplementers, our callers can, just go in, look at the bolded line items and just go over them really quickly and efficiently with the adjusters.
So would you say, as far as the documenting process goes, because kind of where I was leading to next was like, what would be the biggest things you're missing in documenting? So would you say like the detail aspect of it, showing more of a before and after, like, or like, here's where we are, here's where it should be, here's how it's up to code. And in that gap there, like, where do you think they're missing the most when it comes to actually documenting the jobs out?
So you have where you are, or where you should be, and why it needs to be there, right? That's the middle part. So what is supplement experts doing? We're providing that code information, we're providing the bids, we're providing the photos, and then we're putting it all together in a way that flows from A to B. So I have I have drip edge and needs to be replaced. Just an example. We'll see photo below, and it's the first photo that they see, right? It all. I think I'm answering your question. I might not be,
Yeah.
but it's all meant to flow in a way to be efficient and to be clean, right? Like, what's the purpose of a messy estimate when it's all over the place? That's why we build process. That's why we obsess over processes, to be efficient. I get sent estimates, people saying, hey, like I wrote this estimate, and then they just send me the estimate. I'm like, well, where's the code? Where's the photos? Where's all this other stuff? And they're like, well, I sent it in separate, and I'm like, I get that, and that might be easier for you, but like the other person on the other side, like that's not easier for them, right? Like when they have to go and open 5 different files that are just, the names are numbers, right? And they're just like trying to figure out where your stuff is. That's not helpful for them. It's not helpful for them. It's not good for you either, right?
Yeah. And I almost refer this like telling a story in a way, like, because what I think in listening to you and talking about the process side of things is on the documenting side, and then understanding like what they need, but also just explaining to somebody like, hey, look, this is the position you're in with whatever you're at, whether it's needing a new roof. And I'll talk about my hot water heater. Let me go there, for example. Like, hey, we have to replace your hot water heater because it caught on fire. This is true story. uh, Caught on fire, needed to be replaced, right? Well, in order to do that, hey, guess what, you have this type of hot water heater. It was in the 90s, we're in 2000 whatever now. We have to bring it up to code here. Here's how that's going to work. And I guess explaining the story of the gap between where you're at with your hot water heater, the fact that it was installed 20 years ago, and 20 years building codes have changed. And then just showing and documenting that process. So I just think people miss that. And that's what I was trying to get. And which you explained it really well. And now I understand is understanding that you have to be as detailed as possible. You have to tell people where they're at with their current situation. Doesn't matter what project you're working on, where it needs to go, what's, all the building codes, and here's all the details as to why it needs to get to this point. So no, you explained it perfectly. No, I think people miss that, and maybe they don't understand it, or they just can't wrap it in their head. They just think they show up and go, well, I need to put this equipment in, and it costs this much money, and it's going to take me this many hours, and that's all they think about.
I mean, like I'll keep reiterating. I'm obsessed with process and time management. That's what that's partially what makes me who I am, right? But what I often like to coach to people who are, that book training sessions with us that we do for free, and it's a mindset thing too. Like when you're out there, like, there's two mindsets you need to have. Is one, I'm not coming back here again to do another inspection. Like whether it's with an adjuster or, I don't want to. I might have to. I don't want to do another one with another adjuster, and I sure as hell don't want to go back and get photos because I was lazy about it this time. And when I'm getting photos, like if your mindset isn't, I'm gonna get photos that one's gonna cover my ass if something happens, but two, is gonna be better than that than anyone else can get. I'm gonna save myself time because I cannot tell you the amount of times that people have to go back out and get photos again because of a denial, and they didn't have proper photos to show, hey, like here's where the damage is here, stuff like that. Like if your mindset is I'm going to go out and I'm going to get photos that are so good that even if they deny it, I'm going to send the photos in, and it's going to be like without a question, like they can't send someone out and get better photos of, you know that's going to greatly improve my chances of them, approving it from the desk, if you will. I like to tell people a rough calculation, like you spend time going back and forth. You spend time, what does a second inspection entail? Well, that's, time setting it up. Then you go out there, they say that they're going to meet you out there at 9. Well, you got to get out there at 8:30 just in case they show up early. But sometimes they take an hour or two to get there. So now you're 2.5 hours in, like, an extra half hour for driving there, for example. So now you're 3 hours in. The inspection takes 30 minutes, or 30 minutes there. And then you got to drive away and you got to go back, and now you're spending time processing it. So, there's 4 hours out of the day. What could you have done in that 4 hours? You could have sold yourself 2 more jobs that, then double the amount of value that you just wasted on that one job because you couldn't spend an actual 15 minutes taking the true photo set and could have prevented this situation. Now, does that work every time? Absolutely not. But like, you got to be trying your best to prevent this from happening, right? Like, why, what's a big reason people want to use supplement experts is because, either they don't have someone in house and their salespeople are doing it, or someone's doing it and it's not the best use of their time. Give you back 40% of your day, so, whatever. But like, you also got to be smart about your process and time to prevent things like this from happening, because you want to be out, you want to be selling, you want to be building, you want to be collecting. That should be your focus, right? So the little things, they add up. They really do.
I will think of this as, I'll bring it back to customer experience. Like, hey, sorry, we're going to delay your job another day or two because I was not diligent the first time through, right? I didn't do a good enough job of getting all the information needed to send to the adjuster or send the insurance company to get a claim made. So, to me, that's a customer experience thing. Like, hey, guess what? We're going to come out here, we're going to do it right, even if I have to spend 30 minutes extra to save 4 hours of my own time plus 2-3 days on a delay on the project.
It's I'm sure if there's any sales gorillas out there watching this, a lot of them will tell you it's an important sales piece too. Coming down, showing them like your robust, inspection. Look at all this. I mean, I know, I think I don't know if it's the Rodney Webb system, but like they'll go up, they'll do the inspection, and they'll take a video, and you'd be surprised about how hyped these guys are getting about hail hits, like creating that, whoa, look at that, like that's crazy. And then they like come down and they show the homeowner, and they're like, whoa, like, hey, look, like you're trying to close more jobs, like an inspection, like that'll do it. I mean, like a good inspection, once you have it down 10-15 minutes, sometimes you might even need to just chill up there to make it seem like you're spending more time, like whatever it takes, right? You want to build that credibility with your clientele, and the inspection is a good piece of it. I mean, there's just so many different ways you could look at it. I'm doing everything I can to ensure that I'm maximizing my profitability, my time management, my rapport with my client. Like it really is. And you coach it, and it still isn't going to get done perfectly. I get that. And it's tough, especially you're 2 months into the season. You've knocked a bajillion doors and you're working like a dog. I can appreciate it. I really can. But, at the same time, you just got to do it. You got to do it right.
So in terms of, well, I feel like content on the front, now this is going to be me going back to the content side of things because it's what I do. I feel like if you've got a process like this down, it's the perfect video content that goes out on your social media channels, and goes out to the homeowner before you even show up. Talk about an easier sell when somebody goes, hey, I know exactly what, Max is coming to my house. He just sent me a video on exactly what he's going to do. So I know what to expect when I show up, and I know it's Max. I know how he talks. I see his mannerisms and what kind of person he is. And all of a sudden that just makes the process a lot easier. And they're okay with you asking those, more in-depth questions to make sure you get the right estimate.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, there's several different ways you could use this piece. Now, I want to hit on something that just is not done enough, and it's getting the photos during production. And the carriers know it's not getting done right most of the time. That's why they ask you for these things, or they want you to just to see that you're doing it because they don't want to pay for it. Whatever you want to believe, it's got to get done. And I like personally, like when I was helping run, work at this roofing company, I empowered our crews to get it done. We incentivized them, and whether it was a bonus on the job, or even pushing against them, like, hey, if this isn't done, we're gonna have to cut your, you have to dock you in some way. But it has to get done. It has to get done. You have to document it. And even if you do have some jobs that it really doesn't make a difference, well, what happens if on average you're increasing your jobs by $1,000 just from production photos, $2,000? Like you're doing 200 jobs. That's an extra $400,000 in revenue. Like it adds up. It's significant. And what I say to look to these sales guys is like, if you're expected to be managing your job, like you need to be thinking about what your goals are, right? What's the flashy thing every salesperson wants to do? They want to be $1 million sales producer. I respect it. I like if you're doing $1 million in revenue, you're hustling, you're making significant money in your bank account. I like that goal. But how do you get yourself from $0 to $1 million? And someone in this industry also has me thinking that, like, what do I need to do? What's the closest step, right? Well, if Matt says that production photos are going to get me an extra, $2,000 on a job per average, just let's just throw that number out there. Well, if I'm doing 50 roofs, just say that's $100,000 in revenue. Well, if I'm averaging, $10,000 a roof, that's 10 jobs. That's 10 jobs I don't have to go out, inspect, sell, wait for the carrier, collect, like that's where your focus needs to be, is how am I going to shorten that distance? And it's just, if I could be more diligent, okay? And then there's a rippling effect of that, right? Where it's not just the financial part of it. It's like when I'm out managing my jobs, less mistakes are going to happen. It just does. The less punch items, so we're less time going back, and it's going to shorten my time collecting my money. Because at the end of the day, if you're not collecting, what are you doing? Like you're working for free until you collect. And then look, you have an opportunity. You're out there with your crews, like building rapport with them is huge. Like I can't tell you how many jobs I just, I brought waters. I brought breakfast burritos in the morning once a week for these guys. Like I, as a project manager, I want my guys to see me and be stoked to see me, right? Like as supplement experts, like when our employees, when my employees are our employees, when they're working with me on something, like I want them to like be excited to work with me, right? Like I want any of my coworkers to be, like into like working with me. You want your crews to be the same way, right? Like you're going to these job sites, take care of your guys. It's gonna be 100 degrees out that day. It's gonna be like 115, 120 on that roof. Bring them waters, bring them lunch, bring them breakfast. Like they come to the office on Fridays on a lot of these companies to collect their checks at the same time as you. Like, and you're both getting paid and you're both seeing each other. Like that's like you got like that synergy is important, right? Go to your jobs, get your photos, manage it right, less mistakes will happen, and be boys, be girls, or whatever with your crews. Like, like that culture is essential in roofing or supplementing or media. Like it doesn't matter what industry you're in. Like, do right by your people, and in this industry, do right by your crews. Forget about, I usually see people talk all the time. Like, okay, like, yeah, you got to pay your guys, you got to pay them right. Like, I get that, but when you're in that actual moment where you're doing the work, like, be homies. Like, bring them, make their lives easier. Like, make them enjoy seeing you, right? So I love going to my job and doing right by our people, and I love the reaction I got from them every time I was walking out and they're on the roof. It's gratifying. It is.
I agree, man. I agree. Well, look, dude, like there was so much good stuff in there. I learned a ton today. And so this is one podcast I'll go back and listen to them all, but this is one I'll definitely go back and listen to and take in for sure, man. Lots of great stuff, especially when it comes to the estimating process and documenting. And I think if anything you pull from this is really making sure you're documenting the right way before you're taking anything into an insurance claim, whether you're doing it on your own or you're hiring a different company out to, like you guys, to do it. So no, I think it was wonderful, man. I really appreciate you taking the time to come out and really explain it.
Anytime you want me to come back, panel, one-on-one, I'm open to it. I love talking about this, and I apologize if I talk maybe more than I should have. But I love this industry. I love creating value, and I'm not shy about it.
No, and I trust me, I hate talking on these podcasts. So I would much rather you guys, because you're the experts, right? I'm not. I'm here to gauge and to bring that information to everybody else. Now, so Max, if somebody wants to work with your team at Supplement Experts, how do they get in touch with you, man?
Yeah, absolutely. So, feel free to go to our website, www.supplementexperts.net. You could also find Supplement Experts on Facebook, LinkedIn as well. Feel free to email us, info@supplementexperts.net, and give us a call, 720-541-9679. We talk to a lot of people that might just be needing to work through an issue or just want to pick our brain or my brain specifically. We don't really have a secret sauce because it's not a secret. Like if you're having some issues with your process and you might not even want to work with us, or maybe you do, or you maybe want to use this for overflow, but you just want to figure out how you can be better, reach out to us. Like, we're an open company like that.
Awesome, man. Well, Max, I appreciate it again. Thank you for coming on and sharing the knowledge. We'll definitely swing back around and have you back on for sure, dude.
Absolutely. I appreciate the opportunity.
Awesome. Well, hey, thank you guys again for listening to the Preferred Contractors podcast. If you haven't hopped into our Preferred Contractors community on Facebook, you can search out preferred.contractors, or if you just search Preferred Contractors, should be the first group that pops up in there. We have a ton of value going in there every day on marketing, business development, sales, branding, you name it. Anything that's going to help and give you actionable steps to grow your contracting business. So we look forward to seeing you guys in there. And thank you again for listening. Have a good one.